enjoy the Saboteur build? Do you like having all those tools and bombs at your disposal? What do I have to build for you? This is my level 50 Dragon Age Veilguard Saboteur build. We're going to go over the whole skill tree, we're going to go over the items, and I'll even show you in combat. So let's look at our skill tree, and this is the skill tree at its base. Now it's a little scattered, as you can see, and overall we have 60 points, which you can see here. Now when following this build, there are a few things to note. You cannot take the Saboteur until level 20, and then within this there are sections you cannot take until level 30 and level 40. So this obviously is a skill tree that works best when you are at max level and want to respec, but you can also do this as you're going. My suggestion would be to follow the skill tree up this way, and then come down here and get as close as you can to the Saboteur here. And then every time you have a point, if you can fill this up, do that. If not, work your way back down here. But if you are following this, the first two steps you should take is to come south from the center and take Exploding Arrow. I take this on all my rogue builds. I think it's just really good, honestly. And then to the right, Endure. Lose 35% less momentum when you take damage. This is honestly key because momentum is crucial. It's what allows you to do your abilities and all sorts. Now from there, we're going to come north. I'm going to take Evasive Measures. We don't really need this, honestly. It can be good if you can time it, but what we really need to do is we need to help this way, to Powerful Rebuttal. Gain Precision after a successful defend. Precision means the next charged or final attack will be a critical. So bear that in mind. Coming north again, we're going to go for Pilfer. A really good early game sort of ability you can use. Detonates Overwhelmed, which means you can pair this very nicely with people. And it's just a good base 500 physical damage. Now we're going to come to the right, and we're going to take a Ball Walk. 10% physical resistance, helps with how easily you pull aggro in this game, especially early levels when no one has a taunt ability. And honestly, even with the taunt ability, it's not that great. But then we're going to come to the right, we're going to take Unending Quiver. Activating any ability grants 2 more arrows, ensuring you never run out, because the bow really can be OP in this. Coming back to the left, we have Bulwark, and we're going to go straight back left into the middle to Leaping Shot. Now again, this is an ability that will come in very handy to help you get out of danger. With how easily you pull aggro, you'll probably be using this a fair amount. Then we're going to come to the top right. We're going to take Necessary Steps, Primer Duration plus 20%. Honestly, this isn't really that important, but what we do need to do is follow the pathing to the left and take Swift Rebuke. Gain momentum when you perfect dodge or perfect defense. Momentum equals abilities. At this point, we're going to want to come both left and to the right, as I show them in the wrong order. To the left, burst the speed, so momentum generation plus 10%. Again, momentum equals abilities. And to the right, improved health, health plus 100. Just really helpful, especially early game when you will pull aggro like crazy. 100 health is nothing to scoff at. We're then going to come into the middle for Lightning Flask. This is a duration control ability, please bear that in mind, and it costs 1 momentum. Really good lightning damage that also applies shocked to enemies. And again, we're going to come to the left and the right. So the left first, we can take Determination, maximum momentum plus 50. To the top, Perseverance. So while low health, gain deflect whenever you perfect dodge or perform perfect defense in response to an attack. And then you're going to take all 3 at the top here. So at the left, we're going to take Upgrades Control Abilities with Controlled Providence. Each active advantage increases your control ability damage by 10%. And don't forget, Lightning Flask is a control ability, so that's 10% extra damage. We're going to come to the top for Refract, maximum deflect stacks plus 1. Deflect essentially means that you don't take any damage from the next attack. The more you stack this up, the less damage you're going to take. And then to the right, Bloodsucker. So hitting enemies with a tall ability leeches 10% of the damage dealt. Nice way of healing yourself up. Now coming back to Perseverance, we can come to the right. And we're going to take Tipped Arrowheads, maximum arrows plus 2. And we're going to follow the path into the right for some motivation. Probably the most broken skill in the game. Deals 4% more damage per your maximum arrow count. So the more maximum arrows, the more damage you're going to do. To the right again, we're going to take Sharper Edge, Penetration plus 15%. And to the right again, Fan of Arrows. Fire an arc of arrows up to your maximum of 5 arrows. Requires at least 3 arrows. So shoot at least 3, maximum of 5. Just a nice AoE base attack you can do that doesn't use an ability. Now at this point you should be able to travel up here. If you can't, don't worry. Again, just follow the rest of the skill tree. I will be going over it. Now, we're going to jump into our Saboteur subclass, and with that comes Fortune's Fury, and it's basically a medieval grenade launcher, I guess. Really cool ability, 4,000 damage. For that, we're going to have Fortune's Turret, a really good duration tool ability, and this whole build is built around control and duration and tool stuff. So this is just incredible. Now to the north of that, we are going to take Sharper Edge for another 15% penetration. To the left, we are going to take Precise Malady. So upgrades duration abilities. For each equipped duration ability, arrow regeneration regenerates increased by 35%, again helping you never run out. To the right, we're going to take Plague Arrows. So hold R2 and your charged arrows, if you charge them beyond the normal amount, will now have necrosis around the area. That means we now have physical damage, we have Lightning Blast with the lightning damage, and a form of necrosis. To the north, become prepared, maximum arrows plus 2, so more 4% damage on top, and more arrow regeneration. To the left, calling the shot. Every 8 arrow hit grants you precision, your final attacks grant 3 arrows. And to the top, trick shot. Every 5th arrow that strikes a single target splinters into projectiles that may hit nearby enemies. Now you might have noticed the Saboteur has a lot of bow-based abilities. This build will also work if you like using your dual swords, and I've got weapons that will let you use your dual swords and sort of counteract, or not counteract, but like complement the lack of base damage with weapons that you get from your skill tree based on the weapons I've picked. Now we come back to Fortune's Turret, we are going to go to the right and we're going to take Determination, physical damage plus 10%. To the south we're going to take Quick Fix, so upgrades tool abilities. Defeating an enemy with a tool ability grants Quickened, and Quickened abilities cooldown refresh more quickly. Coming back top to Determination, we're going to go to the right and take Messy Death. Defeating an enemy with a charged attack from any weapon causes an explosion after a short delay, dealing additional damage around them. And honestly, holding down the triangle button on the PlayStation and doing the charged heavy attack, I've used it loads in this game because it's so good. This will trigger a lot. To the right again, we're going to take Deep Cut, so stagger on weak point hits plus 20%, filling up that stagger bar equals, I call them kill shots, they're not called kill shots, takedowns, and takedowns are huge damage and usually finish a fight. You also get stagger on critical hits, and then coming south again, in the fray, defeating enemies at close range resets the duration of any active advantages. Now, you might remember over here we had a thing, I believe it was over this side. Yep, there you go. Each active advantage increases your control ability damage by 10%, which means that 10% will keep resetting because your advantage on them, as long as you trigger this, will keep reoccurring. Now you might remember we got to here, Fan of Arrows and Sharper Edge, so we still got this part of the skill tree to do. So coming south from, as I get to it, Sharper Edge, we are going to take Explosive Trap. So again, a really good ability, area, tool, detonates overwhelmed, just incredible. To the left, we're going to take Desolate Malady, Affliction damage plus 10%, and we're going to take Siege Breaker. So tool abilities deal 25% more damage versus armor and barrier. Quicker way you get rid of the armor and barrier, the quicker you get into their health pool. And coming back to Desolate Malady, to the north, Salt in the Wound. Hits an enemy with a duration ability, increases any existing affliction stats by 1. Nice way of boosting up that affliction. Coming back to Explosive Trap, we're going to go south and we're going to take Tipped Arrowheads, bow damage plus 10. We're going to take Enduring Reach to the right with duration, radius, or distance increases depending on the ability. And to the south, Improved Ammunition. When a tool abilities expire or trigger, you gain 3 arrows from the debris. Now coming back up to Fan of Arrows just underneath the Saboteur, we are going to come south and we're going to take Bulwark, physical resistance plus 10%. When it comes south again, we're going to take Pounce, gain 50 momentum and regain 25% of your arrows after performing a successful takedown. And south again for Traumatize, takedown damage plus 15%. Nice way of just tying together your stagger, your takedowns and all sorts. Now you might remember we came here to Reign of Decay because we wanted some of the abilities here. So if we're going to start here, we're just going to go Rain of Decay, and to the north, Salvaged Arrows. So arrows gained after defeating an enemy +2. North again for close quarters combat, deal 15% more damage to all enemies within 10 meters. Really good way, as I said, you will pull aggro easy. Basically a free 15% damage. North again for Shellbreaker, that's an extra 20% damage versus armor. And to the left, Electric Armorer. So while wearing different classifications of helmet and armor, +4 maximum arrows. Again, those 4% extra damage from some motivation is just buffed. Weapon damage +15%, an easy base of increased damage, and stagger +25%, more stagger, quicker takedowns. Coming back to Rain of Decay, to the bottom right we have Bated Breath, so this allows you to charge up your bow attacks. And to the south we have Determination, 50 maximum momentum, and to the left we have Heartseeker. Area abilities deal 20% bonus damage versus health. And to the right of Determination, we have Keen Eye. You generate 2 additional momentum from arrow hits. This bonus is doubled when hitting an enemy weak point, and this is easy to do against some of the bosses. Coming back up to Bated Breath, we're going to the left. For Innovation, damage versus barrier +20%. Again, boosting our damage versus barriers and armors. Quickest way to end fights, because a lot of enemies in the late game will have armor, will have barriers. So you need this stacked damage. To the left, Debilitating Shocks take 15% less damage from enemies who are shocked, ties very nicely with Lightning Flask. And to the left again, More is Better, maximum arrows +2, stacking up those 4%. Now if we look at our character, you will see we have a bunch of items here. And for a sword, I love using the Weissup's Whale. This is my go-to short sword or broadsword for pretty much every build for Rogue. Lots of damage, lots of stagger, but more importantly, 15% light attack damage, 20% light attack final damage, gain Rally Party for every 3rd final attack you land. Rally Party, companions do increase damage, so you're not only buffing yourself, buffing your allies. And companion cooldowns are reduced by 15% while Rally Party is active. Underneath that we have Arani's Talon, so really good necrotic based weapon. You'll see we added a rune for 40 added necrotic damage, on top of the 30% necrotic damage, and permanently gain necrotic weapons when entering combat. I should also note 15% damage versus high health on the Weissup's Whale. Now for a bow, I really like Azur's bow, 25% hip fire damage, +4 maximum arrows again, boosting our incredible some motivation perk. The bow does not lose accuracy once you obviously upgrade it more, and +4% bow damage per maximum arrow capacity, so really buffing up that damage just from using this one bow. For a hat, I really like the Recruit's War Hat, so 15% damage versus enemies with high health, 15% damage versus barriers and armor, again tying everything nicely together. 25% charged attack and weak point damage versus enemies of high health, really good against bosses, and gain enhanced damage on impact of your first attack of the encounter. For armor, the Duelist Coat, +4 maximum arrows, again boosting that 4% damage, 20% hit fire damage, 300 stagger on every 4th arrow shot. Stagger equals takedowns, huge damage. And while you have maximum momentum, you do not spend arrows while using ranged attacks. Incredible. For items, I really like the Tincture Kit, 20% healing received and a revival charge. The Sightless Skull, 20% control ability damage, 25% stagger from control abilities. Gain 1 momentum per 50 stagger dealt by control abilities, and gain precision when you stagger an enemy with a control ability. And just remember, our control abilities, we have Lightning Flask, and I don't think that is, no, so it's just Lightning Flask. But essentially you will be using this a lot because it's only 1 momentum. Fortune's Turret is incredible, really, really incredible, doesn't cost momentum. And Explosive Trap is also very helpful to use, but all of this will boost your Lightning Flask. For a ring, I really like the Twin Palladium, +4 momentum on a kill, +15% momentum generation, +50% maximum momentum, and damage increases with your current momentum. Again, tying all this quicker momentum, stacking momentum, having more momentum. And the Call of the Hall, +50% takedown damage, +50% stagger, gain a random advantage on a takedown, and I've put a 25% arrow regeneration rune on top. Okay, and here comes the combat. So, you'll see we have a bunch of enemies and incredible damage as I fall off the ledge. Now, base damage, as you can see, we are doing some pretty decent amounts. But, if we get ready to use some of our actual abilities when the enemies reappear, such as here, we'll wait for a few of them to come up. In fact, we'll even aggro some of the ones up here. And we'll throw down our turret. And you see, chipping away at the armors and whatnot. We also have our explosive trap, like that, which just propels enemies off of beams like this. We can also, if we can time it, there we go, we can deflect stuff. Now you'll see, we have our explosives like this that just keep regenerating. There is no momentum cost. So as we dance around, like this, waiting for it to reload. Check our momentum at the bottom, you'll see we have just under 2. And we still have just under 2, which means you compare this very nicely with a lightning flask like here, and really stack up that shock abilities just like that. Pair it with the turret, and you really are a king of the battlefield at just controlling everything. Get in those status effects, and then you can just start at the back, get into danger, throw your bombs, and like that you're just flinging people everywhere, before finishing them off with your shots like this. Or, as I said, if you are more into your melee, you can dart out the way like that, and you can land your big heavy attacks, crack out that armor. Or just keep blowing enemies up like this, you'll see, completely off the ground. Another lightning flask, getting that extra shock damage, just like that. Getting out of dodge constantly. And decent hipfire damage. Now obviously when you do this you're going to want to play a bit more carefully. I'm just trying to show off every ability within one combat. But this is a build that really just lets you use your abilities. You'll see we already have the turret, look at the momentum. And again, the more momentum we have, the more damage we do. So as you can see, we're now doing more against the big dudes. And again, we can throw out another turret, and our turret will just start pumping out multiple ounces of damage. And again with the bombs, we can throw these out and keep up the damage. And that is the build in a gist. So I really hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please drop the video a like, helps me amazingly. If you're not subscribed, please do so. I have lots of Dragon Age content on here, lots of build guides, let's plays, all sorts. Let me know in the comments below what you'd change, what you'd do differently, what other items you would use, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.